invited to the signing of a declaration of intent with 4 political parties that will form the new government. At what stage are we right now? Have you had the coalition agreement signed, and has that been sent to the governor yet? What about ministers? We are hearing a lot of bubbling in the street, a lot of stuff we're hearing about infighting, party disagreement. Have the ministers been selected, and have their names been submitted as yet for screening?
Yes. First of all, we have analyzed the outcome of the elections. It sent a evident expression of sentiment of the people of St. Martin that we can agree on. The people are tired, they're fed up, and they're not amused by the way politics has been conducted in the recent past. So I think that is what they have expressed also in the result of the elections. After we analyzed, and I analyzed, and the other political parties also, the result of the elections, we came to a conclusion, each of us, and we settled to sign, as you were there too, a intention declaration. And that intention declaration is that we commit to sit seriously with each other on the table to see if we can get to a governing accord. And after the governing accord is signed, the next step will be, that is the third step, is to go over to the crystallization of a government program that will be based on the governing accord. The first phase being the intention declaration has been signed, and now we are sitting with each other to reach to the governing accord. Once you're sitting negotiation the governing accord, you have to sit and feel each other out about the different areas that you would like to govern on. Vision on healthcare, vision on education, economic growth for the country, to mention a few. What are we going to do with the infrastructure? And once you have a common ground of agreement that you will express in your governing accord, then you will sign that one. And then from there on, the governing program will be then based on the governing accord. And most of the time, a governing program is being signed 3 to 4 months after you sign a government. A government program will be signed 3 to 4 months after you sign your government accord. And why? Because once you sign the accord, you're going to go back in government, in this case we were in, and we're going to line up what is government currently doing, what are the priorities, do they all fit in what we want again as a new coalition, and see how we can actually accommodate all the desires that we had, together with the new ideas that we have, to make actually a good guideline for policies and government decisions for the future. We are still, so intention declaration has been signed, and now we are going to work on the governing accord. While as usual, St. Martin is already fighting or thinking that there is disagreement about ministers. That's not the case. We are just thinking about the bigger picture, realizing the challenges of this country. The minister is the one that is appointed to facilitate the country for us to move forward. Each coalition partner will get some ministries, and they will have to make sure that they appoint responsible people with great vision, with great capability to move forward the vision of the government that is formed. So appointment of ministers is at this particular moment not the main topic of discussion. It is for each coalition partner has to decide for themselves, present their candidate, and from there on we move forward.
The load shedding continues.
Yes.
We are still experiencing power outages,
Yep.
not as long, perhaps not as frequently.
Yep.
So is the intention now to keep the first set of generators in addition to the second phase? And you mentioned that you had 3 that were already en route. Can the second phase begin a phased, a partial implementation, adding to reduce the the load shedding? And GB had mentioned that they will not pass on the extra costs for this power generation.
Yeah.
But these generators are using diesel fuel.
Yeah.
And the fuel clause is rather vague and very difficult to figure out the realities. How do we, as the public, feel assured that the costs of the extra diesel is not being passed on in the fuel clause?
That's the first question, the last one. I will consider it. How do the people feel sure? And I think that's it. We, as a people in St. Martin, will have to have now a government that is going to bring back the trust in the people, that they really believe and accept what government is telling them. And that is what I think the task of this government. And I said it in the past already, we made a deal as a government with GEBE that they are going to absorb the fluctuation in the fuel clause, and that will remain like that. Recently I had a meeting with GEBE again, we touched base on it, and I got a guarantee, as they have committed initially, that they are going to, the GEBE will absorb the fluctuations of the fuel clause, and that means that the consumers will not have to contribute to a relatively elevation of the fuel clause because of the use of diesel in this case that is a little more expensive. But I think at a certain moment, if we say something, we have to commit to what we tell and inform the people. And I have to stand and say again, reiterate that the trust has to come back in our government, that what we say to the people is something that we adhere to without playing politics with. Secondly, your second question is about what about the containers that are here? We were in the crisis, we needed a fast solution. We decided to rent fast the 10 megawatt expressed in 7 containerized generators. They came, they are contributing and mitigating the load shedding. It's not enough. And those were we made a deal to rent them. But we were surprised, and we didn't know that they were all brand new. This is the first place on earth that they started working was on St. Martin, and we are very happy with them. I'm not telling you that we're going to do it. It passed through my mind, and I just discussed it with GEBE. I would like to propose to the company that is renting us the energy, the containers, if we can do something with the contract to transfer it into a rent to buy for us to have it as extra 10 megawatt for the country. And why? It took a lot of energy and logistics to install that plant there. I don't know if you pass there, but if you see it, it's a lot of work to get it so far for the containers, the generators to be functional. And we are so happy how they function that we thought it would be great if we could have that as an extra buffer instead of getting the 20, giving back the 10, staying with 20, to add the 20 to the 10 and go for the nation to 30. And in that way, seeing that we're going to get engine 19 back on track, hopefully soon, with the repairs of the smaller ones that we are now trying to fix fast, it's going to give you a little more overcapacity than what you need. That means that it's going to control the load shedding. It's going to eradicate the load shedding, that's one. And secondly, because those machines are now overworking and overtime, it would be great if we had that extra 10 moving forward in restructuring GEB, that we can switch off one of the big ones, give it a good service, and while we don't feel it in the community. And that is, of course, that I thought last week, I'm going to try to see if I can get him, especially in a deal of a rent to owe that we have a few years to pay back. And that would be great. It gives an extra buffer for the consumption of energy and sustainability. And we feel a little more comfortable because I don't want this crisis to repeat in the future of St. Martin. But it's not it's going to happen. It's an idea that I had, and we discussed it with GEB.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Responsible for giving out of license for concessions and license. Also, are they also not in charge of supervising the quality of service provided by these providers? And what exactly is your position on all of this development regarding Starlink and BTP?
I was informed by BTP that there's a legislation in the pipeline to allow them to empower them to put fines on services, because they don't have the law is not there to allow them to empower them to fine companies like Telem and Flow that are not giving services up to par. So we're busy with that legislation, and I'm pushing that legislation hard because, as you can see, our services has not been up to par. Any company that wants to do business in St. Martin has to go through the process of applying for concession. Starlink has an agreement with the French side, but our island is so tiny that it also beams over to the Dutch side. So now we are, we made a strong statement this week stating that anyone that's selling Starlink antennas are not allowed to do that because Starlink has no concession. It is not fair that Flow and Telem are paying their dues and not Starlink. So with that, Starlink has to go through the exact same process as Flow and Telem. We're not saying that they can't do business in St. Martin. We do believe in fair competition, and we do believe that our people, the consumers deserve a quality service. So with that, we'll see how far that goes. But right now, as it is, Starlink does not have a concession agreement with BTP, and we're looking to maybe clarify that and get that done.
I checked Starlink website and they said they're starting business on St. Martin, not Saint Martin, on St. Martin as of October 2025. This means that there are some kind of negotiations taking place.
Yes, there is right now discussions. I did mention before that we are in discussions with Starlink. So now they're going to go through the process. Until that concession is done, we cannot allow the antennas to be sold.
Then what is BTP doing to make sure that there's optimal services to all the businesses that are suffering? and all the people that are suffering.
Then, BB, you're not understanding the purpose of what BTP does. BTP is a regulator. We cannot have companies come in here and not pay their dues. BTP is doing that part, making sure that Starlink has the concession to allow them to continue to do the sell services on the Dutch side of St. Martin. So that is what BTP is doing. BTP is doing its job. You can't come here and sell services free and don't pay the dues to our regulator. So that is the job of BTP. You will be hearing from BTP as soon as possible, as soon as they have something in place with Starlink. It's not that you just, we cannot be continue to be lawless. You understand what I'm saying? So that's mainly why BTP did that. Let them know that, hey, we don't have a concession with you. You cannot have your antennas sold here until you have a concession agreement with us. And that's mainly the focus.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Emily of Isle 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm going to continue with the discussions about Starlink. I think, so number one, what's the time frame in terms of negotiating that concession agreement? Because I think there's a sense of urgency. Number one, Telem is clearly in financial problems, has laid off staff. Telem has demonstrated not a really rapid approach to improving the quality of their services. For example, the SMR P1 line that was just recently repaired has been out of operation for about 8 years.
7 years.
7 years, okay. And the Starlink option as a backup option for businesses, for residents, has become critical because nowadays, as services become cloud-based, given the fact that we're in a hurricane zone, this also gives you resilience in the event that there's a hurricane, that you can take down the dish, put it back up. So there's I think, a real critical urgency to solving this. So what is the fastest, what is the time frame that you can put towards negotiating a concession agreement? What are we looking at?
I don't think it will take no more than a few weeks to get a concession done. Shouldn't be an issue with that. Once now we have their attention to sit with us at a table, in a few weeks they can have the concession and we can continue. Like I said before, we believe in free enterprise. We believe in making sure that our people, St. Martin, the community, has quality internet service. And as for your concerns with Telem, we met with Telem. The COM has met with Telem on many occasions. We just met, I think, this week, right, Prime Minister? Yep. This week. And they assured us that they have multiple projects ongoing to mitigate their services, to make sure that their internet service and their mobile service is up and running. So we foresee between the last term of the year and the last quarter of the year, beginning quarter of the year, that everything will be up and running seamlessly. SMPR1 will be connected. It's connected already. It's repaired, but now they're just going through the final connection. So that means now that they will have now their own pipeline. Internet service should be running better. And they are looking also to go into 5G very soon, and they are working on that as well. So between, I hope, the last quarter and the first quarter of 2024, 2025, Telem service should also be up to par. But that legislation that we're working on will allow us to come after them when the service is not up to par. Right now, we don't have that whipping stick in our hands, so I'm working on making sure that happens simultaneously.
So just a clarification point then. So given the fact that you're mentioning it's just a couple of weeks in terms of negotiating a contract, rather than creating a sort of hysteria in the public and people worried about what to do with their Starlink dishes, because there's a lot on the island already, wouldn't it make sense just to put a hold on creating any sort of trauma in the community?
I think
and wait
BTP
a
know
couple
exactly
weeks?
what it was doing when it did that, and BTP has been, I believe in BTP. I know exactly, I knew that was coming out. They informed me. Internally, there's certain things we cannot divulge. There's a reason why BTP did that, and you'll see eventually the reason for that. But it's not that we're trying to push away. We're not saying that you can't have Starlink, but Starlink also has to pay its dues, and that's all that is. That's all it's about.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Emil. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Minister. The Supreme Court upheld the decision from arbitration with Telem about Telem having to pay Mayor 3.7 million. Are the jobs of the employees guaranteed? What does this mean for the company, and what is going to happen to the Telem building? Is the sale a plan to? Is there a plan to sell and to use the money to pay off mayor?
Okay, so that part, they have been aware of that, Mayor. That court case has been ongoing for the last 2-3 years. So I don't think that it will present employees that's there. I'm sure they kept that in mind during the time when they released, or not fired, but let go 2/3 of the employees. So I don't think that will affect the employees as of now. And you heard me mention that in a interview, and I think the Prime Minister also mentioned that in online somewhere. What there is the possibility of they're looking to sell the building, and their idea is to maybe consider putting the Parliament building there. We still haven't ironed out all the kinks. We're busy with that, but it'll be great to just have the Parliament building there. It can also save Telem and assist Telem with financial means, but we're still going through the internal process of financially what it would mean, logistically what it would mean. We still haven't ironed out the kinks as yet. It's just an idea. To me, it's a great idea. I love the idea, but I think as soon as we iron out the kinks as a calm, the Prime Minister, who is over Telem, will come out and address the public.
Are you Asset V insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? Asset V is cardless. Request your My Asset V account today and enter the virtual office of Asset V. Go to assetv.sx and sign up now.
Asset V, yeah, your social and health insurances.
A 16-year-old boy is dead after a suspected shark attack in Trelawney. The teen's dismembered body washed ashore the Falmouth fishing village earlier today. Jamila Maitland reports.
Tears rolled down the cheeks of Michael Reed while coroners placed the body of his son in a van behind him. 16-year-old Jamari Reed reportedly went spearfishing on Monday. He never returned home. On Tuesday, his body was found in the vicinity of the Falmouth fishing village. His head and one of his arm were missing.
I'm feeling so bad, man. So bad. And something we argue about, we talk about, we fight about. You understand? He's not doing it for her because he's not doing it for needy or anything.
The community suspects it was a shark attack. Fisherman Alistair Hines theorized that the sharks often follow the cruise ships on a Monday when they dock in the town center. It was around that time the teen was fishing. The fisherman, who was among a group of disturbed onlookers, say while shark sightings aren't unusual, they've never attacked this close to the shore.
I went to see him, see fish, swimming, and see fish drop beside me. And as Paul drop beside me, I take him myself. I not attack him, I not beat him. I get a chance to move and me move.
No, man, it forced me to experience. I read about it somewhere else, but no, it forced me to see it as well.
Jamari Reed was a student of the William Knibb High School. His father says he was preparing for back to school next week. In short, sharp breaths, Mr. Reed tried speaking with us.
Trust me, it's so bad, man. This is what it is still, you know?
But even as the police and the community tried to make sense of the case, fishermen were getting ready to go out to sea. Mr. Hines, now a 71-year-old retired fisherman, gave this word of caution to the public.
Careful, look for the unexpected. Look for the unexpected and don't panic. You can't panic a scene or coward. So you have to have the bravest mind and heart every time. You have to look out for the unexpected. You're in the boat, you're alone. Monsters coming from all angles, you don't know where they're coming from. You're going to look at fish for half pound, but a bigger one will feed him. So that you have to look for the unexpected at sea.
Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.